This conference will now be recorded.
All right, hi everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon and welcome to the 2021 public meeting webinar on the presentation topic, Watersheds and our Shared Stewardship. My name is Maylin Wilbur and I am the Stormwater Department Manager for the City of Memphis Division of Public Works. I am going to be presenting during the first segment of this webinar to talk to you all about our department and why we exist. And my team members, Ms. Yvette Sonia Holmes, there she is, Ms. Stephanie Hardy, and Ms. Pamela Riddick-Carroll. They are going to be assisting me this afternoon as well for the second segment, and they are going to, hey Pam, they are going to be talking about and highlighting the importance of stormwater runoff quality, and also to share with you all the importance of stormwater pollution and how that can negatively affect the watersheds that we all live in. All right, so before we get started, we ask that you please mute your computer, your tablet, and your devices to prevent any background noises from coming through. We also ask that you please turn off your video to prevent any distractions. Also, if you have any questions during this webinar, please use the chat feature on this platform to submit them to me, and we will answer those questions at the end of the presentation during the Q&A session. Any questions that we don't get to today, or if you're having any technical issues, or if you have additional questions that you may think of later, you can certainly submit those questions to us via email. Our email address is stormwater@memphistn.gov, or you can just give us a call at 901-636-4349. And last but not least, after the presentation today, we will be posting a survey. It's going to be through SurveyMonkey on our website. The survey is basically a list of questions to test your knowledge base on the topics that we're discussing today. And it also provides you the opportunity to provide us feedback on this webinar and any suggestions that you may have for us for future webinars. So if you want to receive a swag bag, please take our survey and provide us your contact information. Okay, so with any successful organization, there is a mission. So the city's mission is improving the quality of life for Memphians every day. Well, for the Stormwater Department, that means minimizing and preventing pollutants in stormwater runoff that enters our stormwater drainage system, which in turn improves the water quality of our surrounding lakes, rivers, and streams. We want to have a cleaner, greener city with awareness that every citizen can have a positive impact on the water quality that flows down our streets, enters the Memphis stormwater drainage system, and ultimately discharges to the Mississippi River down to the Gulf of Mexico. So today's objective is to learn to be aware of and recognize these conditions that could result in pollution that enters the Memphis stormwater drainage system. As we go through these slides today, ask yourself this question. What can I do to prevent pollution? Because if we change the way we think in terms of stormwater pollution prevention or stormwater runoff quality, we can change our behavior. And changing our behavior is really crucial in helping to protect our waterways. So to accomplish our mission and objectives, the Stormwater Department was formed. As I mentioned earlier, I'm the Stormwater Department Manager. Heather Holtz is our Environmental Technical Manager. Arpit Gandhi is our Database Analyst. Shirley Palmer is our Support Service Analyst. The Environmental Project Coordinators are Chan Higginbottom, Jennifer Kisner Johnson, Joshua Hatchett, Pam Riddick-Carroll, Stephanie Hardy, Yvette Holmes, Zach Boatwright, and Chris Studaway, and they are really crucial in the implementation of the various programs of the Stormwater Department. So the City of Memphis Stormwater Department was actually created in 1996 to impose controls in reducing pollutant discharges into our stormwater drainage system to the maximum extent practicable. We are a federally mandated program through the Clean Water Act, which is administered by the Environmental Protection Agency. Now, the Clean Water Act establishes the basic structure for regulating discharges of pollutants into waters of the U.S. and also regulating water quality standards for surface water. The Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, or what you've probably heard of as TDEC, TDEC, in accordance with EPA rules, issued the City of Memphis what's called a National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, or Npdes Permit. And this requires the city to develop and implement a stormwater management plan to control the quality of stormwater runoff discharged to the stormwater drainage system within our jurisdictional area. So our Npdes permit has 6 minimum control measures that we have to meet. The first one is through public education and outreach. This is where we inform the public on ways to reduce and prevent stormwater pollution. We do this via brochures, promotional item giveaways, advertisements, press releases, our stormwater website, and also through our educational programs that we offer. The second one is our public participation and involvement. This is where we involve the public on the development and implementation of stormwater pollution prevention. We typically hold public meetings by partnering with other events, but due to COVID-19 social distancing protocols, we've been doing these live webinars like we're doing right now. Our third requirement is called the illicit discharge detection and elimination. This is where we identify and eliminate illicit discharges to our stormwater drainage systems. And examples of this will be discussed later by the team in their segment. Our next requirement is called construction site runoff control. This is where we review erosion control plans to ensure that the plans submitted to us are accurate and they have adequate erosion prevention sediment control measures. And we also conduct inspections of these active construction sites to ensure that the site operators are implementing appropriate measures to prevent any muddy water from leaving their site. And of course, again, entering our stormwater drainage system. The next requirement is called the post-construction site runoff control. This is where we review post-construction plans to ensure that these plans submitted are also accurate. And we also conduct inspections of what's called retention and detention basins to ensure that these structural control measures are being maintained and functioning properly. The last requirement is called good housekeeping. This is where we conduct inspections of our own municipal facilities to ensure that best management practices are being implemented to minimize and prevent stormwater pollution. We also develop and maintain their stormwater pollution prevention plans and conduct trainings on stormwater pollution prevention. Our department also actually has a sampling program that we conduct, sampling at 28 locations, which covers the Nakano Creek, the Wolf, and Hatchy watersheds. Other requirements that we also have is issuing enforcement as necessary. For example, the Stormwater Department may issue civil penalties for violations of city ordinances ranging from $50 up to $5,000 per day per violation. All right, so Memphis has a separate sewer system. We have the sanitary sewer system, and then we have the storm sewer system. You may have heard of it called our MS4, or it's called the Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System. So the diagram on the left-hand side of this photo is an example of the sanitary sewer system. This is a system of underground pipes that carry sewage and wastewater from bathrooms, sinks, kitchens, and other plumbing components to a wastewater treatment plant where it's filtered, treated, and then discharged ultimately to the Mississippi River. Now, the diagram on the right-hand side of this photo is an example of the storm sewer system. This is a system designed to carry storm water or rainwater to the nearest lake, river, stream, and eventually to the ocean, and it's untreated. So that's why it's incredibly important that we do our part to prevent pollution from entering our stormwater drainage system, because guess what? What we do on land affects the water quality of our surrounding lakes, rivers, and streams. So stormwater runoff comes into contact with pollutants that it encounters along the way, and this can affect the biological, chemical, and physical health of the receiving stream. Examples of these pollutants can include cigarette butts, trash, litter, yard debris, or chemicals just dumped onto the ground, and those are just to name a few. So just remember, only rain down the storm drain, because fish and aquatic life rely on water quality to thrive and sustain healthy populations. The pollutants can harm fish and aquatic life, and it can make our waterways unsuitable for fish consumption and recreation. These are more examples of stormwater drainage systems. So for clarification, stormwater drainage systems are like storm drains, they're gutters, they're drainage ditches, they're open channels, and culverts that I'm sure you guys have seen throughout the city that convey stormwater or rainwater into the nearest lake, river, stream, and eventually to the ocean untreated. So as I mentioned earlier, our mission is to protect, maintain, and enhance the environment of the city of Memphis, and also the health, safety, and general welfare of the citizens by controlling the discharge of pollutants to the city's MS4. Our mission is also to maintain and improve the quality of the receiving waters to which surface water flows, like our rivers or lakes or streams, ponds, wetlands, and groundwater of the city of Memphis. All right, so now I'm going to introduce to you Ms. Holmes. She will talk to you all about why stormwater is important. Ms. Holmes?
Thank you, Mrs. Wilbur. So, why is stormwater education important? Let's talk about water availability. We think of our planet as the big blue planet, but this slide is a representation of how much water we actually have. This global illustration shows blue spheres or bubbles that show relative amounts of Earth's water in comparison to the size of the Earth. The largest bubble represents all of the water on, in, and above Earth. The smaller bubble represents Earth's liquid fresh water, and the tiny bubble represents the 1% of Earth's fresh water found in all of the lakes and rivers on the planet. Most of the water people and life on Earth need every day comes from these surface water sources. 30% of Earth's fresh water is located underground, and much of that is too deep and not available to humans. All of our water on Earth is constantly recycled through the Great Water Cycle by the processes of evaporation, condensation, and precipitation. Water cycles happen on watersheds. A watershed is basically an area of land where stormwater falls and runs off or sheds to a receiving river or other water bodies. There are natural and urban watersheds, and the amount of surface runoff or shedding and stormwater infiltration often vary between the two. The Stormwater Department is a stormwater pollution regulatory entity and is concerned with the pollution of infiltration and stormwater runoff in the water cycle. Memphis is part of the Mississippi River watershed, with the river itself shown as the dark blue line. It is the largest watershed in the United States. It drains 31 states and 2 Canadian provinces. We all live on a watershed, and we all have an effect on its water quality. The map on the top left corner of the slide shows Memphis's 3 main watersheds, which are named after the rivers to which they drain. The Hatchy watershed at the top of the map drains to the Hatchy River. The Wolf watershed in the middle of the map drains to the Wolf River, and the Nakano watershed at the bottom of the map drains to the Nakano Creek. We will visit each from north to south later in the presentation. In the top right corner, you see the location of Memphis in relation to other cities south of us along the Mississippi River and how it drains to the Gulf of Mexico. In the bottom right corner is a satellite photo of pollution from the Mississippi River into the Gulf, and in the bottom right corner, you see a definite contrast in the polluted water and the rest of the Gulf and Atlantic Ocean water. Many cities north and south of Memphis rely on the Mississippi River as their main source for drinking and other water-related services. But Memphis is very fortunate to receive our drinking water from our share of the 30% underground fresh water on the planet. We use water from the Memphis Sands Aquifer. It's been cleaned by the earth over thousands of years and is some of the best water in the country. It's even bottled and sent to other states. Makes me wonder why Memphians would buy bottled surface water from other states when drinking our water saves money and reduces dreaded plastic waste. In the top right side of the graphic, you may see a recharge zone. A recharge zone is an area where stormwater infiltrates into the ground and into an aquifer. Many recharge zones are located near the Tennessee-Mississippi border, but there are other recharge zones in Memphis as well. These are also areas of concern for possible polluted stormwater runoff infiltrating into the ground and possibly the aquifer. So again, why are we concerned about stormwater quality? The city of Memphis does not treat stormwater runoff prior to discharge into the Mississippi River. And stormwater runoff picks up pollutants like fertilizers, pesticides, motor oil, pet waste, leaves, and detergents. And all of that can go into our local rivers and infiltrate into our aquifer. So we need all citizens to be aware of and reduce sources of commonly seen stormwater pollution in Memphis. There are two types of stormwater pollution, which we refer to as illicit discharges or IDDEs. They are point source pollution, where the origin of the pollution is known, historically from industries like factories, businesses, or presently from construction sites and some citizens. The other type of stormwater pollution is non-point source pollution, where the origin of the pollution cannot be definitively determined. Many times it is grass clippings or leaves that have been blown into the street, or grease or chemicals poured directly into our storm drains, or illegal dumping, daily littering, and flip cigarette butts, which are a major pollutant problem. Citizens are required to clean up after their pets. Ordinance 4826, Section 563A states that it is unlawful for a dog or cat owner to fail to remove pet waste from any property, public or private, other than the premise of the owner or handler. And Ordinance 4538, Section 33-20719 states that it is unlawful for any person to dispose domestic animal waste into the stormwater drainage system. So this means we need to clean up after our pets. Don't forget, Memphis also has a leash law and a large stray pet problem. So if your pet is running free or unsupervised in the neighborhood, it may be contributing to a stormwater pollution problem. We want citizens to not only be aware of and eliminate common pollution violations, but also to report them to our office if they are seen. So, where does your watershed? Well, let's explore the Memphis watersheds and introduce you to your watershed. We will enter each watershed from the north to the south. We'll begin with the lovely Hatchy, followed by the wonderful Wolf, and then the notable Nakano. Mrs. Hardy will now introduce you to your Hatchy watershed.
Thank you, Ms. Holmes. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Have you seen these signs that mark when you've entered a certain watershed? Be certain that wherever you are in a river watershed. The Hatchy River, or the Luce as we like to call it, is 64 miles long or has over 1,400 river miles, with its headwaters in Hardeman County and its mouth here, Fraser, Shelby County, where it empties into the Mississippi River. The Hatchy River Basin or drainage area is about 738 square miles. Most of this river and its tributaries have been channelized, that is, dredged and straightened for agricultural purposes. The Hatchy River has many named and unnamed tributaries. These streams contribute to the quantity of water we see in the Hatchy at any given time. All of these smaller watersheds are just as essential as the large ones we recognize, like the Wolf River and even the Mississippi River, as they are all connected. Some of you may recognize this cool store on one of our state parks. The Shelby Forest General Store and Shelby Forest State Park are within the Hatchy watershed. Did you know that our famous singer Justin Timberlake is from the Lucid watershed? How about the fact that the Lucid watershed contains 17 rare plant and animal species? Activities associated with agriculture, industries, and other human activities can be detrimental to the quality or overall health of the watershed. Unfortunately, many miles of the Lucid River are contaminated or altered, which affect recreation, surrounding lands, fish, and aquatic life. Sadly, dumping and littering is a common occurrence in our communities. These photos show dumping and littering in the watershed of our Raleigh community's Lucid River tributary. We have lots of wonderful organizations in the Memphis area, but it takes all of us to combat this problem. Let's take a closer look at one of Lucid tributaries and its watershed. This area in the Fraser-Raleigh area has an unnamed tributary that empties into the Lucid River west of Raleigh-Millington Road. The portion of the stream you see outlined in blue is concrete lined along New Allen Road and then goes natural near Egypt Central Road. The blue arrow shows direction of flow. Here's a photo of the Lucid tributary at New Allen Road soon after a rain event on the left side, and how it looks during dry weather on the right side. As you can see, that is a lot of rainwater. And also you can see how much debris and sediment is carried during a storm event. The photo on the left shows pollutants like trash being dumped into the Lucid tributary. During a rain event in the middle slide, water pushes all this pollution downstream where it eventually ends up in the Lucid River, then the Mississippi River, and to the Gulf of Mexico. So this pollution doesn't just disappear. Most of us don't give these things a single thought during our day-to-day activities, but it is important to recognize the importance of watershed stewardship in our community. You, your family, and your friends all have the potential to be environmentalists. So let's take all steps to protect our natural resources. Now, let's learn about the Wolf River watershed with Ms. Holmes. Ms. Holmes, take it away.
You are now entering the Wolf River watershed. There are a few of these signs around Memphis to look for, but this one is located at the Interstate 240 at the Poplar Avenue exit. We drive over ditches, creeks, and rivers all of the time, unaware of the various waterways within our watersheds. Here we are on the bridge over Wolf River on Austin P. Highway in Raleigh. The Wolf River is 106 miles long, and its watershed includes Fayette, Hardeman, and Shelby counties. If you look at the map of Memphis, it tends to follow Poplar Avenue to the Mississippi. Its tributaries flow through parts of Collierville, Germantown, Bartlett, Raleigh, and Midtown before entering the Mississippi River at Harbortown. The Wolf River begins from a spring-fed pond called Baker's Pond in Holly Springs National Forest in Mississippi. The pond is seen in the background under the blue arrow. It's amazing how small the headwaters stream is compared to the massive river that we see in Memphis. The Wolf River watershed is a great place for wildlife, education, and even a little recreation in some areas of the river. There are some areas with sandy beaches, natural clay, and spots for canoeing and enjoying. But keep in mind that the watershed is all about the drainage of stormwater runoff. whether it be in a natural or urban setting. And the Memphis stormwater drainage system was designed to help drain stormwater from the city to mitigate flooding and disease and work with nature's design. So storm drains are part of our watersheds. Storm drains carry storm water to tunnels under our roads, to drainage channels, be they natural or concrete, small or large. They are critical in the draining immense amounts of storm water from our streets to our creeks, lakes, and rivers. And remember, our storm drainage system carries everything that flows or blows into it directly into our waterways, into our rivers, the Gulf, and eventually our oceans. Watershed stewardship, the practice of caring for our watershed, starts with you. And now Mrs. Riddick Carroll will introduce you to your Nakano watershed.
All right, last but not least, we've got the Nakano Creek watershed. And by the way, the Luce may claim Justin Timberlake, but Nakano has the king himself, Elvis Presley. All right. Now, of the three rivers within Shelby County, Nakano is the farthest south. It's 30 miles long, and its headwaters are in Collierville, here in the southeast corner of Shelby County. It's the bottom right of the map there. The creek flows west, pretty much parallel to good old State Route 385, otherwise known as Bill Morris Parkway, otherwise known as Nakano, here in the eastern half of the county, and it then continues along the south leg of I-240 and all the way to its mouth at the McKellar Lake and Mississippi River. Now, a fun fact, all three of these rivers' origins goes back to about 24,000 years to the Pleistocene epoch, better known as the Ice Age. Now, this is evident by fossils found in the creek banks, like these approximately 20,000-year-old mastodon teeth and a tusk that were exposed in the bank near the old Mall of Memphis site, near Perkins and American Way, back in 1976. Quick side note here, don't confuse mastodons with the more well-known mammoths. Mammoths, there on the left, were larger and lived in open grassy areas like you'll find west of the Mississippi here in North America. The mastodons there on the right were hairier, slightly smaller, only 10 feet at the shoulder versus the 15 of the mammoths, and they lived in wooded areas like what you find east of the Mississippi River, in other words, here in Shelby County. Now we fast forward back to modern times, and we'll arrive here at President's Island, down in the southwest corner of Shelby County, where Nakano empties into McKellar Lake. This lake is actually an old Mississippi River meander and is open to the Mississippi River. Now, unfortunately, Nakano carries a huge amount of trash within its waters, and these end up collecting in the slacker water of McKellar Lake. Mitigation efforts, like the booms on the right, are in place, but they're not very effective in keeping up with the constant barrage of pollution. Because remember, it's not just Nakano Creek, but the entire whole Nakano watershed that empties into McKellar Lake. Now, Nakano's watershed is very heavily urbanized and includes about 50 tributaries, most of which have been channelized, i.e. turned into concrete ditches. Now, as an example, I present to you Black Bayou. A typical tributary, Black Bayou, is 4 miles long, located at the midpoint along Nakano's course. The headwaters are at Audubon Park in East Memphis, and it flows south through the adjacent Normal Station and Sherwood Forest neighborhoods onto its mouth near Getwell and American Way I-240, where it empties into the Nakano Creek. Now, you haven't seen a whole lot of litter in Black Bayou. Yay, that's a very good thing. But it's still polluted by E. coli bacteria and fertilizer phosphates, which originate from the lawns and gardens of the residential neighborhoods that it flows through. So now I'm going to give you back to Ms. Holmes to wrap up.
Thank you, Mrs. Carroll. Mrs. Riddick Carroll. So what we do on land affects the water quality and habitat of our creeks, lakes, rivers, and oceans. Deforestation of land for construction sites and improper erosion prevention and runoff control from them can lead to unhealthy water bodies and environments for animals and humans. Improper disposal of trash and chemicals and overuse of plastics are just some of the things that have led to unsafe consumption of fish from our own rivers as well. Now, we can also have a positive effect by recycling our waste, rethinking of ways to work with the planet, lessen our waste footprint. We are often taught to reduce, reuse, recycle, but I encourage students to reduce, recycle, and reduce. We can learn from the planet to create new sustainable green jobs. We can preserve our natural pollutant cleaners, such as wetlands, and mimic the earth with green infrastructure or low-impact development methods by installing rain gardens or green roofs and becoming watershed stewards. And you've already begun your journey to watershed stewardship by watching this webinar and becoming an informed citizen. The Stormwater Department encourages citizens to be watershed stewards with reminders to scoop the poop, only rain down the storm drain, drain marking, don't blow your grass clippings in the street, don't flick it, car decals, adopt a storm drain program, and more. We also offer various education opportunities to area schools and can provide educational programs at your community centers or a booth at your community events. For more information about our public education or community outreach programs, you can reach me at the phone number or email below. Now I will turn it back over to Mrs. Wilbert.
Thanks, Ms. Holmes. At this time, we will be answering questions. As a reminder, please keep your devices on mute and submit your questions to me through the chat feature. If there are any questions we don't get to today, or if you're having any technical issues, again, or perhaps you have additional questions that you think of later, you can submit those questions to us via email. Our email address is stormwater@memphistn.gov, or you can give us a call at 901-636-4349. So if you all just give me a moment, let me take a look and see if we have any questions or comments. I've got one question. The question is, if someone wanted to lead a creek cleanup, what would be the best entity to coordinate with? Sonia, would you like to help with that question?
Sure. In the past, Stormwater has helped people with community cleanups, and you can contact us or contact me at our email address or phone number, and we can get together and talk about exactly where you want to clean and what you need to have clean. And then depending on what materials need to be removed, we can get with other entities such as Clean Memphis or Beauty, City Beautiful, and some of the other entities within the city to try to get it done. So just contact us to start.
Again, that's 901-636-4349, or you could even email us at stormwater@memphistn.gov. Sure, you're welcome. All right. What number do we call again to report pollution? What number do we call to report a pollution violation? Okay, and again, that number is 901-636-4349.
And Maylin, also folks can just call 311 with the city of Memphis as well.
Yes. Thank you, Pam. I'm going to give it a few more minutes for anyone else to ask any questions or have any comments. All right, seeing none, I'm going to move on to the next slide. Just a moment. All right, so as a reminder, please visit our website at memphisstormwater.com and complete our survey to receive your free gifts for your participation today. When you get to our website, all you'll need to do is go to the top of the page and you'll see a banner that says, "Did you watch our webinar? Take our survey." All you'll need to do is click on that banner and it'll take you directly to the survey itself. The survey ends May 17th by 3 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Some of the gifts that you'll actually be receiving, this is just a sneak peek, is an I Love My Watershed magnet. You'll also receive a tote bag, an umbrella, and a lot more cool items like this reusable stainless straw that actually comes in a small carrying case that you'll see in the photo below. So again, the survey will be available right after this presentation, so please take the opportunity to take that. And before we end this webinar today, we'd like to leave you all with a maxim: to be a solution to water pollution. Collectively and individually, we have a great responsibility to help keep our waterways clean. If we all do just a little, together we can give a lot. Thanks again, everyone, for participating in this webinar, and be safe. Bye, everybody.